All right. Everybody can see the slideshow? We're good?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining tonight. My name's Jen Morris. As you know, your coach and gym owner and your nutrition person as well. So today is meant to be a nutrition basics workshop, which means that it's meant to be interactive. So feel free to stop me, interrupt me, ask any questions you might have. And just know that this is going to be probably around an hour. I am recording it. So if you do miss anything, don't worry, it'll be recorded. You can certainly take notes, but there will be a recording that I will post once I can upload the video and all of that. So tonight, thanks for joining again. There's a lot of things around nutrition to learn. I just wanted to quickly let you know a little bit about me for those of you that I don't know very well. I've been doing CrossFit and own the CrossFit gym now for over 18 years, 8 years here in Goderich. I consider myself also a nutritionist, a biohacker, and a competitive athlete, even at the ripe old age of almost 55. So a lot of you may not know I haven't always been a gym owner. Before owning a gym, I worked in pharmaceuticals, the world of big pharma. And before that, I worked in the world of the food industry. So I've seen a lot about how the industries work and how those two industries in particular tend to, unfortunately, keep us unhealthy in many ways. The other thing a lot of you may not know about me is that I've always struggled with my weight. I was quite a fat teenager and child, and basically found nutrition when I went to university and became aware of how impactful eating properly was, obviously, for my health and for my weight and body composition. And that was what inspired me to go on and study nutrition and food science and do my master's degree in that when I was in university. And then having seen what I have seen in the food and pharmaceutical industries, I was even more inspired to help people one-on-one through the gym and through helping them with nutrition. So my goal really in having the gym and teaching you about nutrition is to help you and inspire you to be the best that you can be, and help you realize that no one is a lost cause, and that there's always something we can do to make ourselves a little bit better, a little bit healthier. And my real belief is that when you are healthy, you are happy. And the more happy people that we have out there, the better the world is. So ultimately, my goal is to change the world. So that's a little bit about me. And I just thought I'd share that with you because oftentimes when you see somebody or look at somebody, you see sort of the tip of the iceberg and you don't see what's floating below and their reason and how they got there. So if you ever want to chat about that, I feel like I have a lot of experience in health and fitness and nutrition that I can lend to you to help you. And that's really what I'm trying to do here tonight. So for those of you that watching this on the recording, if you are watching this after the fact, and sorry, my live people, I just need to say this. If there is anything that comes up in questions, just shoot me an email or text me or catch me at the gym. Okay, so nutrition is a super controversial subject. It's probably one of the most controversial things out there because everybody has their beliefs and there's a lot of conflicting beliefs. There's lots of different, what I call camps out there. We have people that believe that eating is all about calories in and calories out. Then we have people that believe that health is dictated by our hormones only. And then there's like 30,000 different diets and programs and what have you, from keto to the breath diet. And there's like literally a diet for everything under the sun. So it's very, very confusing, and it's really hard to know what is right for you and to cut through all the noise and a lot of the misinformation that's especially perpetuated in the media and social media, because a lot of this is influenced by unfortunately, big food and big pharma, and not necessarily based on evidence. And then even the evidence is very difficult to make heads or tails of, because you're looking at data out there that is mostly what we call observational, which means that they look at large populations of people and just say, because this group of people ate tomatoes, they don't have prostate cancer. And we're finding, and I'm just using that, throwing that out there as an example, but there's all these kinds of correlations made about what food affects what, and what's good for you and what's bad for you. And it just gets super uber confusing. Today eggs are good for you, tomorrow they're bad for you. That kind of messaging just gets so just crazy, and that it can make your head explode. And what ends up happening is we just then tune it out completely, and we just ignore it, and we just go on falling victim to just eating whatever we want. So I'm sure many of you can relate to that crazy confusion out there. And then probably when you hear me talk and I start telling you about certain things, you're like, what is this girl talking about? So it becomes even more confusing. So my goal today is to hopefully confuse you a little bit more, but also to cut through that noise and give you some concrete ways of approaching what you eat and how to use it to optimize your health. So I'll stop just quickly if there's any questions or comments at this point, so I can take a sip of water. If not, I think, you know what you already know. If someone's putting up their hand, I can't see the screen because I have the slideshow and I can't figure out how to share my screen and see you. So just unmute yourself and ask a question, okay? I think that little bing was somebody wanting to ask a question. Or if you go ahead. No? Okay. So
I think it was Linda that's raised her hand, and I think she's trying to figure out how to get off mute.
Yeah.
So Linda, there's a button in the bottom with a microphone on it, on my screen anyway.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear me? Hi. Just a quick question before we go forward. What is a biohacker?
Google it. It's somebody that is basically hacking their biology. So using tools and tricks to get healthy, make your biology healthier by using nutrition, by using supplements, by using fitness, and just basically think of like computer hacking, but in a good way, like hacking your own biology.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
It's a term that's probably been around for about 20 years or so. Dave Asprey, he is sort of the original biohacker, and he kind of invented and coined that term about 20 years ago. Anyway,
okay.
Yeah, good question. So ultimately, all of this comes down to what is your goal? And if you haven't thought about what it is that you want, I encourage you to take some time to do this, because if you don't know what you want, you can't get what you want. So you have to kind of decide that. So, most people say, I want to lose weight. Really what they're saying is I need to lose body fat. Maybe you want to sleep better. Maybe you want more mental clarity and focus. Maybe you want to feel and look younger. Maybe you just want to age well, not, be in the nursing home. Maybe you need more energy. Maybe you want to perform better, not just physically, but mentally. And then maybe you want all of the above. And so ultimately that is up to you to decide what is most important for you, but they're all connected. And really what it comes down to is what is feeling good. And I define feeling good by having energy for your life every day and just doing the things that you want to do and need to do, sleeping really well, having a positive mood and mindset about life in general, having clear thoughts and be able to focus on your tasks, having no major health concerns, no major pain, and no real physical limitations. And then being able to have a healthy digestion, pooping normal, peeing normal, not having gas and bloating and diarrhea, having a community of people around you, people that you love, lots of friendships, and ultimately having some kind of purpose in your life. And there's probably way more things out there. And I encourage you to define those things, because if you don't, like I said, if you don't know what you want, it's hard to get what you want. So when it comes to actually focusing on nutrition and what most people come to me for, which is I want to lose weight, if you focus on getting truly healthy, generally speaking, your body composition will follow. So I'll explain that a little bit more. One other thing I just want to mention quickly is the Canadian Food Guide, which is very confusing. And if you follow it, it gets a little dicey because it's really not based on true evidence. It's based more on what lobbyists want you to eat. There's a lot of, there's the grain board, there's the dairy board, there's the meat board, there's all the different boards that lobby the government. Not that they're right or wrong, but they really push to have what their industry is serving up on your plate and what, what the government recommends. So it's very difficult to say that you should follow the Canada Food Guide for myself. And that's one of the reasons I choose not to be a registered dietitian in Canada, because if I was, I would have to prescribe basically this plate to you. And what's crazy on this plate to me is it just says eat protein foods, and there's like this tiny little piece of meat and like a quarter of an egg. So it's kind of interesting that they've done that. So I won't beat that food guide up anymore, just to say, please, if you're going to follow it, talk to me first. Okay. And as I mentioned, also the nutritional studies out there are inherently problematic. It's very difficult to basically determine what causes what, because there's so many variables with different people. So just a few questions that I'd like you to consider for yourself. Are you truly what you eat? If you believe that, then you'll probably eat better. Is quality more important than quantity, or both important? I would argue both are. What is your current health status? Do you have underlying health concerns? The more serious your health concerns are, especially metabolic issues, generally speaking, the more serious you need to get about what you're eating. And then where and who are you getting your information from? And are they credible, and are they walking the talk? So those are just some things to think about. And then, like I said, a lot of people will come to me for weight loss, but really what they're saying is they want to lose fat. What I want you to remember in the back of your mind always is that muscle that you have on your body is the driver of your metabolism. The more muscle you have, the faster your metabolism will be, and the healthier your metabolism will be. And metabolism just means all of the functions in your body, not just your digestion. So muscle, what's really important is that is a reservoir for glucose, otherwise known as the simplest form of sugar that your body recognizes. We need glucose to survive. If you didn't have it, you would die pretty quickly. And everything you eat pretty much ultimately gets converted into glucose. So the more muscle you have, the more glucose you can store with as energy, and the more carbohydrates you can eat. So we'll talk about that a bit. So your muscle actually increases the sensitivity of your body to insulin, which is a fat storage hormone, and that's a good thing. You want to be insulin sensitive, and you want to decrease insulin resistance, which is also known as prediabetes and then diabetes. So having muscle on your body will prevent metabolic issues. That's the ultimate thing you need to remember, and ultimately prevent things like diabetes. So the goal is to gain and preserve that precious muscle on our body. If you focus on muscle growth and preservation, I guarantee you will lose fat. And typically what we see is 3 to 5 pounds of fat loss for every pound of muscle gained. So change the narrative in your head from I need to lose weight to I need to keep and gain muscle, and then the fat loss and the body recomposition will follow. Making sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions? Okay, so one of the reasons we do the body composition scan in the gym is so we don't want to use the number on the scale to track our progress only. It's definitely an important number to look at things like percent body fat, but what we really want to track is how much muscle we are gaining or losing and how much fat we're gaining or losing. The other thing you can do is take some photos of yourself in like tight fitting clothes or your underwear, just keep it for yourself, and take measurements with a tape measure around your waist, your hips, your legs, and your arms, and journal how you feel as you go through this process. It's important to kind of create the relationship that you have with what you're doing and understand how you're feeling as you go along. So the only reason that you should have that scale in your bathroom, this is just my little joke here to break the ice with you guys a little more, is to weigh your suitcase before you go on vacation so you don't get charged too much for it and excess baggage. All right. So
Jen, can I ask a quick question?
yeah.
Can you sort of break down the body comp for us that you provided?
For sure. So if you look at your sheet, if you have it, I don't think all of you have them, but it basically tells us how much fat you have, how much muscle you have, dry lean mass, and then skeletal muscle mass. Dry lean mass is simply the amount of muscle that you have on your body without water, and skeletal muscle mass is the amount of muscle that you have on your body with water. The more muscle you have, the more water you can hold on to, and that's not a bad thing. It keeps you hydrated. And then if you divide your weight of body fat by your total body weight, that will give you your percent body fat. And for females, we want to be in about the 18 to 25% range to be optimal. And for men, it's a little bit lower. It's more like 10 to 18%. Because women, we do need that body fat for hormonal storage. It's really important. If you get too lean as a woman, you can disrupt, if you still are menstruating, you can disrupt menstrual cycles. And if you're postmenopausal, it can really mess you up even more to get too lean with the little hormones that you might have. So that's pretty much it. Otherwise, the only other thing on the body comp scans that are useful is to notice if you have any imbalances, muscularly speaking, between the right and the left side of your body, so your arms and your legs. It also will show you where you're gaining muscle or losing muscle more precisely. The one thing that our machine at the gym does not show us is what is called visceral fat. And visceral fat is the amount of fat that you have around your organs. It's my goal to get one of those machines. It's a huge upgrade from what I have. I might do a fundraiser for it because it costs about $30,000 to buy that machine. So you can also get if you ever go for a bone mineral density scan, you'll go on a machine called a DEXA. And if you ask your doctor, and your doctor is willing, they can ask the technician who does the bone density to also tell you your body composition and show you, it'll actually break down where you hold most of your fat. So subcutaneous fat is not generally unhealthy, but for most people, it's aesthetically not pleasing. That's the fat below your skin. The more unhealthy fat is the fat called visceral fat that accumulates around the organs and in the liver, which is a very dangerous thing. This is called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which prevents your liver from functioning properly. So that visceral fat is a nice thing to know if you're at all concerned about your metabolic health. But generally speaking, if your body fat percentage is between 18 and 25%, you probably have nothing to worry about. Is that Does that make sense, Heather?
Yep.
Okay.
Just can I ask one more question?
Sure.
What is LBM control?
Lean body mass control. That's the number that is at the bottom of the sheet, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So that number is, let me just pull out a sheet so I can just, right. So body fat and LBM. So what those two numbers are showing you a calculation on what you would need to lose for body fat to be quote unquote within the normal range, and what you would need to gain or lose for muscle. I've never seen somebody tell you to lose muscle. So that generally will be like a positive number. So it's just basically telling you what you would need to lose in order to be in that percent body fat range. The number below that, just thank you for pulling that to my attention, because the number below that, the basal metabolic rate, be very careful with that number. That is not the amount of calories that you should be consuming in a day. It's actually your metabolic rate if you were literally like just completely sedentary all day long. So if you eat that under that amount of calories in a day, typically you will lose muscle. So we'll talk about that in more detail as we go. Is that okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Okay, so I just want to show you these pictures because this is why you don't want to look just at the scale. These images are just some images I pulled off the internet. All these people are the same body weight, but look at their percent body fat and look how different they look. Okay, like the guy there, 237 pounds before and after, but his body fat completely changed. The girl at the top right, same thing, like she's the same weight, but her body composition has changed. So I just want to make this very clear to you that 5 pounds of fat and 5 pounds of muscle both weigh 5 pounds, but 5 pounds of fat takes up way more space than 5 pounds of muscle. Okay, so that's why it's important not to just look at the scale. And even the bottom left there, the girl, she weighed 124 pounds before she started her body recomposition, and after she actually weighed more. So the scale for her, if she had looked only at the scale, she probably would have been very depressed. Okay, so it's just kind of interesting to see this and understand that it's not just about the weight on the scale. All right, so when I talk about nutrition, I really want to talk about making sure that you're eating for health first and foremost. We want to make sure that we're eating what we are meant to eat as humans. Like, think of yourself like an animal, and what would you feed yourself if you were an animal that you had to take care of? Because we are animals ultimately. So we want to eat a diet that's what we call species appropriate. Number one thing, before you do anything else, counting calories, counting what are called macros, which we'll talk about, is focusing on the quality of what you're eating and the nutrient density of the foods that you're eating. And I'll get into that. We also want to focus on food that promotes health and does not take health away. And arguably, I would say that what you eat is related to over about 80% of your weight and health issues. Everyone here and in the world, all humans are slightly different, obviously, but there are general rules that apply for health. And like I said, if you focus on quality, that will generally mean you're eating real food. And generally, most of the things that are healthy to eat, coincidentally, are also environmentally positive, especially when you eat things that are more local. So we need to think about this not as dieting, but as something that's sustainable, not just for you, but for the planet. So this is the caveman. Please tell me more. So I try to inject some humor. You can laugh out loud if you want, because I can't see your faces right now. It's kind of weird. So diets fail all the time because most people expect instant results, and you end up losing muscle in the process. So like you go almost too fast and the number starts to go down on the scale, And lo and behold, you start to lose this muscle and your metabolism slows down, and then you end up losing more muscle and gaining more fat, because that's just what happens when we lose muscle. We break our metabolism. Another big problem is that there's no opportunity in most quote unquote diets to think about some times where you can be a little bit more free and do what we call refeed, or just take a break for a day and allow your body to kind of just not be so stressed out about what you're eating, because it can become an obsession. And by the way, if you do feel like you have any sort of disordered eating and you want to talk to me about that privately, please let me know. This could be anything from binging to not eating for days on end, anything like that. I do have some formal training in that. I'm happy to help you with that. Most diets are unsustainable. And the other thing I just need to throw in there about exercise is that we need to find something that's enjoyable with a community of awesome people like you guys that involves resistance training. So stressing those muscles out a little bit so we can gain muscle, and making sure that we're not just focusing on cardio. So like making sure you're not just walking or not just running or not just biking, but really throwing some weights around, literally. Another big reason, and this has to do a little bit more with disordered eating, but also stress and emotional health issues don't get addressed in most diets. So we have to be very aware of our emotional health there. Another big thing is not really tracking what you're doing, not journaling your journey to understand yourself better, and focusing only on numbers. The other big thing is not having any sort of accountability group or a coach to help you. And also, it's hard to eat well in our society because there's a lot of temptation. So it requires a lot of vigilance. Another huge factor, especially for our postmenopausal crowd, myself included, is being deprived of sleep. This makes us a little bit or a lot more likely to gain fat, because when we are tired, we don't have the willpower to stick to things. Stress is also involved in that. So you've probably heard this: let food be thy medicine. And what does that mean? It means that food, when we eat it, it should elicit 4 different responses that I'm going to explain to you guys. And you've probably seen the Hippocrates quote. And if we can remember that food is medicine and medicine is food. I'll stop for a moment. Is there anything anybody wants to ask?
Nope.
Okay. So a healthy physiological response, what I mean by this is that when you eat something, the food out there that's ultra processed or highly palatable and very processed, we're basically cavemen still. We really haven't evolved that much, except we have lots of comforts now. So we have these ancient signals in our body, but we're living in a modern world full of temptation, full of processed foods, full of things that just keep us really comfortable, and we're never really stressed or exposed to the elements much. So when we eat these hyperpalatable foods, what happens is we have this super normal stimulus in our bodies, and we end up getting what's called a dopamine response. You've maybe heard this. It's basically the opiate center in your brain that lights up like a drug would light your brain up, and you get this feel-good response. And some people are more prone to this than others. There's some genetic factors there. If you're somebody who feels like you have food addiction issues, this might be you. Like if you just cannot resist the slice of bread, and you must have it all the time, you likely have some kind of addiction to the response that you get from eating gluten, believe it or not. It creates something called glutamorphine, which is morphine, and lights your brain up like the drug morphine. So don't feel bad if you have these issues. Just understand that there's a physiological thing happening. a lot of the other problems with these ultra processed foods is that you're getting all this taste and all these intense flavors, but there's nothing to the food that you're eating. So like super sweet things, super like hyper salty things, they taste great, but they're not really giving you any nutrition. Okay, so you're getting all this taste without actually satisfying the nutritional needs of your body. So you end up in this like vicious loop of pleasure, reward, emotion. It's basically like addiction, and that makes the cravings even stronger. So I'm sure you've all experienced cravings, and I'll tell you right here, I'll give you a little spoiler alert. Eating enough protein helps immensely with this kind of cycle. Okay, so if you find yourself constantly having cravings, most likely you're not eating enough protein. The other big thing is that if you are stressed out, it's going to be really hard to make those cravings. It makes the response of those foods even louder. So stress is definitely something that we all can work on, and that's a whole other topic for another day. So it's really about fixing the brain and rewiring this broken system, making that brain strong. Woohoo. The other thing is hormones. Hormones are super complicated, and I could give a talk on them for probably about 4 hours, but there are 4 key players in your body when it comes to nutrition. They're insulin, glucagon, leptin, and cortisol. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on these other than to say if you are eating well with enough protein, generally speaking, you can control most of these things and keep them in check. The one exception being cortisol, which is stress. But again, protein will help mitigate that. I'm getting some feedback from somebody's mic. I'm not sure if there's what that is, but anyway, just if your mic is on, maybe just mute if there's like background noise, unless you have a question. Okay, so our goal with hormones is to avoid spikes, highs and lows, to keep our blood sugar levels even, to keep our stress as low as possible, and then to keep our body fat low, because that ultimately will help regulate all these things. So healthy gut, again, gut health is a big buzzword out there right now. Again, I could talk about 6 hours on this one. It's really complicated, but what we want to make sure is that we support whatever we're eating is supporting a healthy gut. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of leaky gut, but leaky gut is just a function of eating foods over time that cause basically little micro perforations in our gut wall lining, and we become very sensitive to certain things. And a lot of autoimmune conditions are believed to come from the syndrome known as leaky gut syndrome. So if you're somebody who has something like rheumatoid arthritis, or if you know someone with like lupus or MS, there's probably something like 150 known autoimmune conditions, and there's more that they uncover every day. A lot of it is related to gut health, and a lot of them can be treated by eating well. Okay, so we want to make sure that we think about our gut health when we're eating. So if you have like the signs of gut health problems are a lot of bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation, anytime you're not pooping normally, there's probably something going on. So the first thing is making sure you're eating slowly, chewing your food, because digestion starts in your mouth. Try to eat when you're calm. Try not to eat in a rush. Very difficult in our day and age. Stress will aggravate the gut health problems as well. So it's good to kind of take a few breaths and actually saying grace or being grateful for the food that you're going to eat before you eat it can sometimes slow you down and do wonders for your digestion. Just taking that extra few seconds even before you eat something to think about what you're about to eat. Some really just kind of quick hacks here's your biohack, Heather. So some hacks for your gut health are eating fermented foods. So some examples would be sauerkraut, kombucha, kimchi, and in certain cases, maybe taking a probiotic supplement. If you are going to take probiotics, let me know. I can help you choose the one that is right for you based on any symptoms that you might be having. The fermented foods, you want to try to stick to things that are unpasteurized. Otherwise, if you're pasteurized, you basically pasteurize as a heat treatment that they give to foods to kill bacteria. And what we're looking for is the good bacteria, otherwise known as probiotics. And we don't want to heat that up. We want those left in our food. Okay. Why that's doing that.
Jennifer,
Yes.
where would you put yogurt? You know, you see all the probiotics in yogurt things.
Yes, that's a good question. So yogurt is definitely considered a probiotic. What you got to watch for is yogurts that have a lot of other things added to them. So if it's like literally just milk and what they call lactobacillus bacteria, that generally will be a decent yogurt. If it's like milk with all kinds of thickeners and other things added to it, I would probably avoid that. So you want to find like a plain yogurt that just has the milk and the bacteria, and that's it. And then you can add your fruit or whatever you want after. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So is it, because there's all kinds of yogurts out there. So is it just to focus on the plain yogurts?
Plain yogurts generally are going to be your best bet. And then look at the ingredients and make sure there's only two things on the label: milk and lactobacillus bacteria or active bacterial culture. There shouldn't be anything else.
Okay.
So really good yogurt actually is the Balkan yogurt that is Maitland Market sells. It's just very simple. And the other one is that they have there is the kefir, which is a fermented goat yogurt. It's more liquidy, and that also is a good source of probiotics.
Okay, thanks.
So it doesn't have to be Greek yogurt?
No, Greek yogurt just is talking about the thickness of the yogurt. Yogurt is generally, if you're using that as a protein source, though, it's not enough protein. I'll just say that. So be careful. A lot of them are advertised as high protein, but really per serving, like you're getting a lot of calories for not a lot of protein. So it's not really as protein dense as you are led to believe through the marketing. In a pinch, sure, have it as protein, but I would always have yogurt with probably a scoop of protein powder added into it if I was looking for something protein rich. The other thing with Greek yogurt is to make it that thick, creamy consistency. They'll add things like carrageenan gum or guar gum or some other type of thickener. So you just got to read the label, and it should, like I said, 2 ingredients. If it's got 2 ingredients, milk and bacterial culture or live culture, you're good. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. So immune function is the other thing, and minimizing inflammation. So again, this is a complex topic, but you've probably heard of inflammation. So there's 2 types of inflammation you need to know about. The inflammation, say you bang your knee and it gets swollen, that's like acute inflammation. That's important. That's your body healing itself. What's not normal, though, is to have this systemic throughout your body inflammation that is caused by eating a lot of foods that are irritating your gut, generally speaking. And this just causes all kinds of long-term health problems and keeps your immune system on high alert because it's constantly trying to fight this inflammation in your body. You can actually get tests for inflammation from your doctor, pretty easy tests for them to do when they do the blood work. I can definitely, if someone can remind me in the next couple of days, I'll send out a list of recommended blood work that you can ask your doctor for. They'll probably go, you don't need these tests, but you can push back and you can say, actually, I do, because I know my body and I know something's off and I really want to do these. Sometimes you may have to pay for the tests, but it's worth it to know what's really going on. I'll tell you, a lot of times your doctor won't want to test for things because they don't know how to interpret the test. So That's generally, unfortunately, the reason they don't. And they also don't want to overburden the healthcare system because they're being trained to do the minimum when it comes to looking for issues. Anyway, I'm not trying to beat up doctors. They do a great job, but sometimes when it comes to nutrition and understanding root cause of things, they're not really looking for that. They'll say, here, take this NSAID. See you in 6 months. So systemic inflammation leads to all kinds of things related to metabolic syndrome. Again, I'm not going to get into all of this stuff, but generally speaking, if we can eat things that mitigate inflammation or minimize inflammation, we typically will not fall victim to any of these, what I would call lifestyle issues. All of these things can be controlled by diet and exercise. Typically speaking, you do not need to take medication if your inflammation is under control, and therefore these things are under control. So yeah, we can discuss more of that. I'm not here to give you medical advice, but having seen what I've seen in the medical field, working in pharmaceuticals with doctors for a long time, it's quite interesting. I'll tell you some stories when we're not recording. Okay, so how do foods fail? Basically, they fail by not meeting those 4 criteria. So foods that trigger pleasure, reward, and emotional pathways, promote overconsumption, and they get control over us. Things that disrupt our normal hormonal balance, causing sugar spikes and crashes, causing all kinds of insulin problems and all the other downstream effects related to that. Things that directly harm our intestines and increase permeability, increasing leaky gut, causing all kinds of issues that then lead to immune system problems and inflammation throughout the body. So that's how foods fail. And this is just a quick little slide of some things that you might be surprised to see on here, some not so much, that what I would call take our health away. And I'm not saying never eat these things, but you can be aware of these things and just not make them a main part of your diet and save them more for treats. So sugar, I think we've all heard that. A lot of the artificial sweeteners out there, you got to be careful with. Anything other than Splenda these days, I try to avoid. Vegetable oils and seed oils are not healthy. The most widely used is canola oil. It's used for frying everything outside of your house, generally speaking. Don't buy it. Use oils like avocado oil, olive oil, tallow, butter, ghee. Those are going to be coconut oil. Those are going to be way better for you. Grains, this is where we start to get into some controversy. Most grains out there, unfortunately, are highly, anything like crackers, cookies, a lot of the bread, the Wonder Breads on the shelf, a lot of these are from highly processed grains. A lot of the pasta, the crackers, that kind of stuff typically have a lot of sugar in them, as well as seed oils. These are what we would consider ultra processed foods typically. I'm not saying never eat grains. Another big controversial one is the legumes, like your beans. Unfortunately, in our North American society, we have lost touch with how to prepare legumes. They're meant to be pressure cooked or sprouted when we consume them. And unfortunately, because we're so busy, we typically don't do that. A big one for a lot of us is alcohol. And I'm not saying never have a drink, but if you are feeling like you have some health things going on, my analogy for you is that alcohol is kind of like pouring gasoline on fire. So try to save it for the special occasions and don't make it a habit. If the thought of giving up alcohol for more than a month scares you, then you might want to talk to somebody, because it's also a very addictive substance, as we know. Controversial is modern cow dairy. There's a lot of problems with things like ultra high temperature treated milk. So personally, for dairy, I try to have the dairy that Maitland Market sells. It's from a local supplier, and it's not ultra high treated. It is pasteurized, but it's organic, and it's from a grass-fed animal. So it's probably going to be one of the better ones if you're still going to have dairy. Okay, so any questions so far? I know I've said a lot of things that you're probably going, uh-oh. Is there anything at all? I can't see your hands. I'm really sorry. You'll have to just unmute.
Okay, I have a couple of questions.
Yep.
So yogurt.
Yes.
When you were talking about yogurt and you were talking about protein, and so I've been very conscious about what's the protein in my yogurt, buying the Greek yogurt and blah, blah, blah. So you said it's not enough. Enough. What is enough?
Okay, we're going to talk about how to know how much protein to eat. So I think I sent most of you guys. If I didn't, I can get that to you. I sent you guys what you should be eating in grams of protein per day based on your body composition.
No.
Typically, it's I sent you a message, Linda. I don't know if it went through because we weren't connected on Facebook. But anyway,
okay.
I think it was like something about 130-ish grams of protein per day. So typically a serving of yogurt, even a high protein yogurt, is only going to have 18 grams of protein. Okay, so just to give you an idea.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. I'll look for that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you have another question?
Oh, I just had a point. That when you were saying doctors don't want to do this test or that test, if you ask for a test with your doctor cannot say no to you in Ontario.
Okay.
And
That's
so
great.
just wanted to let you know that.
Okay, because some doctors do say no, or they say that's not necessary, or they'll talk you out of it. So
right. And
yeah.
then you just have to say to them, so are you telling me you're not going to give me this test I've requested? And because they don't want to be put up to any board, and they'll say, oh, okay. Right. So
Thank you. That's a great way of phrasing it. Yep.
Yeah. So just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah, we have to be the advocates of our own health.
100%.
Yeah, the doctors give us like a few minutes and then it's on to the next, right? So
yeah,
don't push, sometimes you don't get.
And to give you an example, I really like our doctor that we have here. Yep. But I was telling him, and Jen, I have a knee problem. Yep. And I said, well, I'm struggling with yoga with my knee. And he said, well, I can't curl anymore. And I'm like, that's not an answer, right? So yeah, we have to push it.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't accept that. You deserve better.
Yeah.
Great points. Love it.
Okay.
Was there any other questions? I can't see your hands, so.
I just want to comment, and I'm sure you're probably going to get to this, Jen, but 130 grams of protein, how does that happen in a day?
I'm going to show you how to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Really good question. So I want to just quickly, was that it? Or was there any other?
That's all.
Okay. So really quickly, macros or macronutrients, these are carbohydrates, protein, and fat. And I want to show you, so things like carbohydrates would be like anything sugary, bready, fruits, vegetables, starches, and protein would be like your meats, some eggs, and then fat would be things like your oil, your avocado. But everything contains a little bit of everything. Like there's not really one food that's just one thing, unless it's like just oil. That would be just fat. Even like steak is going to have some fat and a little bit of carbohydrate. Even like the grains in this donut picture here is going to have a little bit of protein, right? So everything contains a little bit of everything. It's just what is the most abundant macronutrient in the foods. And this is one of the reasons why when people start counting macros, and you've probably heard people say this, like, oh, just eat 1,500 calories a day, eat 150 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, and 70 grams of fat, and you'll be great. But they don't distinguish what those foods should actually be. You will run into problems because these two examples here, this donut, for example, contains 269 calories. So does the sweet potato with butter. The donut contains 4 grams of protein. So does the sweet potato with butter. There's 31 grams of carbohydrates in the donut. There's 31 grams of carbohydrates in the sweet potato. But look at all the other things in the sweet potato. Oh, and the other thing is, out of the 31 grams of carbohydrates in that donut, 15 grams are from sugar, whereas in the sweet potato, it's only 4. So my point is, you can't just look at protein, fat, and carbohydrates. You have to consider the actual nutrient value of what you are eating when you look at creating a plan for yourself based on macronutrients. So it's what we call micronutrients, which are your vitamins, your minerals, and all those good things. But just use this as an example before we start talking about quantity of things, okay? So not all calories are created equal, and anyone that tells you that, just run away from them. So again, food quality. This is all about nutrient density. Nutrient density is vitamins and minerals, and what foods are the most nutrient dense. And does nutrient density actually mean that those nutrients are actually going to be something that your body can recognize? A great example of this is that spinach, for example, contains a ton of iron in it, but it's not iron that your body can actually use and process properly because it's not accessible. It's not what we call bioavailable. Whereas meat, also red meat especially, contains a lot of iron, but that iron is incredibly bioavailable to the human body. So there's a lot of nuance with nutrients as well that is good to kind of start to create an awareness of. And this is why nutrition is never simple. So we talked about foods that take health away. We want to talk about foods that give you health. So you want to focus on foods that are giving you health 90% of the time, and create an awareness of the foods that are taking your health away. And the most simplest thing you could do, if you do nothing else after today, is eliminate or avoid as much as possible what I call the 3 Ps. Anything that's processed outside of your house, packaged outside of your house, and prepared outside of your house. If you can avoid those most of the time, then you will be ahead of the curve. If you focus on eating real, whole, single ingredient foods most of the time, you will be doing very well. Okay? That is like the biggest thing you can remember after today, if you just focus on one thing and one thing only. Okay, so we know what to eat, but how much do I eat? And this is where I get to some of your questions, Heather, about quantity and all that good stuff. So it depends. Of course it does. And it varies from person to person and the context you find yourself in. An elite athlete, Scott Homan, going to the CrossFit Games, training 3 times a day, will have different requirements than somebody sitting on the couch watching Netflix all day, right? Protein, however, is the key, no matter who you are and what you're doing, whether you're elite or obese, sitting around doing nothing. So I have sent you guys, and on your body composition scans, what you want to look at more or less is what your quote unquote ideal body weight should be based on the machine's little algorithm. So for example, I have somebody's, I won't name their name, I have somebody's body composition just sitting in front of me. They weigh 220 pounds. They have 92 pounds of body fat and 70 pounds of muscle on their body. The machine says, based on its computations, that they need to lose 55 pounds of fat, which would give them a body weight of approximately 170 pounds. So this person would need to eat approximately 170 grams of protein a day. And I'm going to show you a little bit more. So once we know our protein requirements, we can then add in carbohydrates and fats based on your activity level. And you can time your carbohydrates, things like starchy carbohydrates, around your activities. I call it earning your carbohydrates. So eating your carbs because you are moving is a good way to think about it. Everyone's slightly different, and your macros, how much you actually are eating, will change over time as your body composition changes. So as you gain muscle, you're going to probably need more carbohydrate and more protein. So once you have the quality of what you eat prioritized, then you can count your calories and macros. So go back to what I said before, that one key takeaway, focusing on eating real food first. This is just some math for you. You don't really need to know this because I'm going to show you a tool, how to calculate what you're eating using AI, artificial intelligence. Chat GBT is going to change your life when it comes to making these types of plans for yourself. 4 calories per gram is what protein has. Carbs are 4 calories per gram. Fat is 9 calories per gram. And I just put this in here as an aside. Alcohol is 7 calories per gram and completely devoid of nutrition, so empty calories. The other thing with alcohol is when you drink alcohol, you impair your liver's ability to actually do its job. And so you will not actually digest foods properly. And it actually is a real good way to gain weight fast. Okay, this is a lot of math on here, and you can follow this or not. And if you want to screenshot this, you definitely can. Like I said, it would be recorded, but essentially whatever it is that the machine is telling you you should weigh, so like the body weight minus the fat plus however much muscle it's telling you to gain, is approximately the amount of protein that you should be eating per day. So if you weighed 200 pounds, the machine says you need to lose 50 pounds of body fat, but you need to gain 10 pounds of muscle. That means that your net loss would be 40 pounds, which would mean that you would need to eat 160 grams of protein a day. In this example here, ideal body weight, 150 pounds, eat 150 grams of protein per day. It's very difficult to overconsume protein. It's very easy to underconsume protein. So if you're in doubt, just overshoot with your protein goals, because protein actually is it acts a lot differently in the body than carbohydrates and fat. Okay, so when you eat something sugary, immediately you're getting that insulin spike and you're going to start storing fat. Fat is also a great source of energy, but you can overeat on it as well and get a whole bunch of energy way too fast. So carbohydrates and fat are kind of your lever. Protein should always stay the same. Okay, so I know this is complicated. I don't expect you to understand the math. However, I'm going to show you a little bit about how you can use an app or an AI to track or figure out what to do. So there's all kinds of apps out there on the market. Some of you have probably used some of them. MyFitnessPal is probably the most common. It's really important, if you want to get nitty gritty with numbers, that you track what you eat. If you don't care about this, or you just like, whatever, just tell me what to eat, Jen. The only thing I would say to you is figure out how much protein you are eating a day and try to hit that number that I've given you consistently day after day. If you do nothing else but that and focus on eating real food, you will have major success.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I don't know if this is a good opportune time.
Anytime's a good time.
Okay, so I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm not a massive meat eater.
You eat fish?
Pardon?
You eat fish and chicken?
Yeah. I mean, I could literally do without all of it. I love vegetables. I love carbohydrates. And I'm not a big fruit eater. So I focus on yogurt and, well, I haven't really honestly until now thought about protein, right? I like beans and legumes and stuff. So how do you get that protein? I mean, as a non, vegetarian.
Very, very, very difficult, Linda. I'll be honest with you. It's really hard to optimize muscle and metabolism as a vegan or vegetarian.
Mhm.
There are ways to do it, and a lot of times it involves supplementation. The problem with not eating meat in general is that you're going to be lacking in bioavailable things like iron is a big one, vitamin B12. So there are ways to do it by adding supplements in. There's also some amino acid supplements, or using protein powders is the other way. But you got to be careful. There's a lot of things like pea protein powder, which you have to eat a lot of it to get the right balance of what are called amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. So it's tricky. And I mean, I can help you definitely offline to create something for yourself that would be helpful.
I'm not a vegetarian or anything. I'm just not a big meat eater.
Right. And so you maybe just want to start to increase the amount of meats that you are eating slowly, so that you learn to maybe like them better and see how they make you feel. Right.
Okay.
And I'm not saying everybody has their preferences. It just depends. Again, you got to go back to your goals, right?
Yeah.
And making change can be really difficult sometimes. And it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. You don't have to do everything tomorrow. And that's something for all of us to keep in mind. These things can be done gradually over time. And I mean, we've all been on this earth a long time as it is already. It's like, we're not going to miraculously change things overnight, and having the expectation of that is unrealistic. And you have to also know yourself and know, are you an all or nothing person? Do you need to quit everything today and start everything tomorrow? Is that what works for you? Or do you fail when you do that and it's too overwhelming? Or are you able to do things more gradually? Are you able to be a little bit more patient and forgiving with yourself over time and create habits rather than making yourself feel like you're forcing it? So it's really, you got to know yourself, and you got to know how you respond to change. It's very, food is really emotional and really up in the brain a lot. So these are important questions to ask yourself and to really think about if you want to make, a change long term. It's not easy, right? So yeah, well, we can talk more about that for sure. I'm happy to chat about it because I have worked with lots of people who don't eat meat, or who don't like meat. So it's all good. Okay. So meal prepping is a big thing. Before I get into how you're going to use AI, I find that if I don't prepare for the week, I will go off the rails very quickly. You ultimately probably are the one buying the food for yourself or your household, unless you're lucky enough to have a husband who cooks for you, or a partner that cooks for you. So I find it important to find a couple of windows in the week where you can actually prep your meals. If you want to get into weighing and measuring things, you can get yourself a digital kitchen scale. It is helpful to have this when you're trying to figure out how much protein to eat, because you'd be surprised. People think, oh my God, 150 grams of protein a day. How am I ever going to eat that? But when you start to weigh things out, it's really not as much as you would think it is. So like 4 ounces of meat is not a lot of meat on the plate. And then again, you're creating this, and get yourself some really good glass storage containers. Please don't heat things up in plastic in your microwave. Not a good idea. Put it on a plate and heat it up. Okay, we don't need exposure to all the plastics. And you want to create a meal plan around protein, creating a shopping list, and then just go shopping for what you want. And I'm going to show you how to use AI for this. So here's just a quick example of like what you could eat in a day to get 150 grams over 4 meals. It works out to about 37.5 grams of protein per meal. So protein shake with collagen, 4 eggs. That seems like a lot, but if you make them scrambled, it's really not that much. Midday, mid-afternoon, eating a large chicken breast. And this is just the protein. Okay, I'm not obviously putting in the sides. And then early evening, typically try to eat before 7 o'clock at night. 100 grams of ground beef. That's really not a lot of ground beef. Gives you about 50 grams. So total for the day, 150 grams. And then obviously all the other things that you're going to eat with that. But if you focused on eating the protein first and planning your meals around the protein, the rest kind of just falls into place. So filling in the carbs and fat. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to exit out of here, get here. We're going to go to, hopefully, let me find you guys. There you are. Okay. So I'm going to stop this. Oh, hi. Nice to see you. I can finally see you guys. So I'm going to show you, find, got my Facebook open. That's okay. We'll go there. Go here and then share this tab instead. Okay. Has anyone used Chat GBT before?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. If you haven't used it, it's like freaking miraculous. Okay. And don't feel bad for using it. There's no guilt. So just type in Chat GBT and lo and behold, there it is. And it's just going to say, ready when you are. You can, don't upgrade your plan. You don't need to. You can basically do anything. And like, I've got all kinds of crazy things in here. So it's very helpful. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT, I'm going to say, make me a 7-day meal plan that gives me 135 grams of protein per day. The protein should come from high quality animal-based foods. But you know what? I really don't like pork. So I'm going to say no pork, please. You don't have to be nice to ChatGPT, but I like to say please. And carbs from mainly fruits and veggies. It knows short form of things. No processed grains. I'll say oatmeal is okay. Want to have a bit of oatmeal once in a while, maybe. And I'm going to say long grain rice, okay. And I'm just doing this as an example. This is one of the reasons I said, like, write down what you really like in these categories. For fat, no seed or vegetable oils. And you know what? I don't like garlic, so no garlic. And I'm just making this up. I actually love garlic. No onions. And you know what? If I eat peppers, it gives me gas. So no peppers. Okay. And then I'm going to say keep And this is just an example. You can tell it anything you want. It's amazing what will come out. Let's say keep dairy to minimum for now. Just whatever. Let's see what it does. All right, so here we go. There it is in less than 15 seconds. It's given me 3 meals and a snack, some dairy, cottage cheese. It's told me exactly how much protein I'm getting in every meal. It's given me some ideas for sides. It's even letting me have coffee. I didn't tell it to, which is kind of nice. And there you go. Okay, so really simple. I have checked these numbers on here and they're definitely accurate. So you can see like 6 ounces, for example, of turkey breast is going to give me 42 grams of protein. Wow, that's awesome, right? So it's just a really simple way of creating a meal plan for yourself. Heather's got to go. Okay, thanks, Heather. Take care. And that's about it. And so now I can say, great, I need a shopping list for this week now. Here you go. So I go to the grocery store. It tells me exactly what I need to buy. Boom, done. Pretty awesome, right? So easy. So, and you know, like if you see something, you're like, whoa, like I don't think, for example, I saw back here, I don't think I can eat egg whites mixed into my eggs, even though it's an omelet. I just don't like those liquid egg whites. I would just tell it, you know what, cut the egg whites out. If I find that like there's something that's unattainable for me financially, like eating 7-ounce ribeye steak, if that's too expensive, I would just say like, don't give me expensive cuts of meat. If I don't like certain vegetables, it's suggesting just tell it you don't want it. It'll just keep changing it for you. It's so easy to use. And yeah, so that's really what I have found to be the most simple thing using Chat GBT, creating that shopping list. And then you can just like cut and paste it or just print it directly. There's like a copy function. You can share it to your computer. I can't remember what else the other ones are. You can get it to read it to you if you can't read the screen. So there's all kinds of things in there, all kinds of tools. Play around with it. It saved me so much time on so many different things. So
will it give you recipes, Jen, if you asked it?
Yeah, so can you give me recipes for the later meals? There you go.
Okay.
Honestly, like if it can't do it, it'll tell you, and there's not much that it can't do. So yeah. All right, so hopefully I have not completely overwhelmed you. Let me just see if I've missed anything here.
I've got to go too. I'm sorry. I don't know how to.
No problem. No problem. Thanks for
type
joining.
that in.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
And on the Chat GPT, and you're asking it to, adding on further questions or refinements to it, asking for further. As long as you're in the same session, it's just going to build on what it's given.
Yes, and you can always go back to a session that you've done before and just say, further to our conversation about my meal plan, can you now make me a second week meal plan? But I just like found that eating that much oatmeal didn't agree with me. Give me something else to eat. Like you can always go back. It remembers what you did on the side. If you log in with like your Google account or whatever. If you don't log in, if you continue as a guest, it won't remember. So just log in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. And play around with it. Like, you know, it's like, you can't break it. Right. So, okay. So just really quickly, I mean, there's a lot of information, obviously you've got to figure out what you want. Like I said, that go back to your goals at the beginning. I said, think about what you want. That's probably the most important thing. And then, start writing things down, create your journal for yourself, create a plan for yourself that's based on what you want. Think of like some targets for yourself, like in the first 30 days, I'm just going to focus on trying to get as much of the protein in as I can. I'm going to try to hit my protein goals. That's just an example, right? Or in my first 30 days, I'm just going to try to eat real whole unprocessed food, except if I have a special occasion, and that's it. So like, it depends on where you are, what your goals are going to be. If you're like more advanced and, like you've been eating real whole foods for like the last 3 years and you've, cut out all the shit and you're not really drinking or all of that and you're sleeping well and everything's going well, then like, look at more complicated things like, okay, now how can I really optimize this? What else can I do here? Can I time my carbohydrates around my workouts? Like, those would be like sort of higher level, more complicated things to do. I would just say like, really just focus on doing your best. The way I always sign my emails off is always be your best, because we can only ever do our best, right? Don't compare what Sally's doing to what Jane is doing or whatever. Like, just focus on yourself and what you're trying to do. Don't be distracted by all of the other people out there, because they're on a different path. They're in a different place than you. And it's that awareness I find that is super important. It's just like working out at the gym. Doesn't matter what Sally lifted for her deadlift. What matters is what you can do and that you're trying hard and doing your best. And that's really what it comes down to, I believe, with nutrition as well. So becoming aware, educating yourself, and just ask anytime you have questions. It's obviously, you can tell my passion to talk about this because I could go on and on forever. So I'll stop with that being said. And if there's any questions, like, feel free, let them rip. Thank you for your attention and my rambling too.
You had mentioned probiotics.
Mm-hmm.
You could recommend something. Is that sort of individual depending on what you're trying to do or what your issues are and so on?
Yeah, because different things are going to help with different issues. So like, if you, for example, had like really horrible constipation, we would want to look at like, okay, what are we actually eating here that might be leading to that? And then what supplement could we take that would help move that along? No pun intended. And then, like, if you're getting a lot of bloating or gas, sometimes it could just be as simple as like figuring out what's causing that before we start adding in probiotics. They're not a cure. They're a tool to help improve things, but it's so contextual. It so depends on the person. So, and I'm not afraid to talk about poop. If you want to talk about poop, we can talk about that all day. It's fun stuff. Yeah.
Or about gas for me.
And on that note, I'm going to say good night as well.
What's that?
I said, and on that note, I'm going to say good night as well.
Okay, thanks, Mary.
All right, see you soon. All right, bye.
Jen,
Yeah.
I have one question. How much should I always try to come to the 8 o'clock class. How important is it that I should be eating before I come? And what could I eat that's not going to take a lot? Like, I will just grab a couple of pieces of toast, and then I'll eat as soon as I get home. I'll have eggs or an omelet or something.
Right.
Is that okay? Or should I be trying to eat something more substantial?
It depends on how you feel when you're working out. Like, are you feeling energized? Do you feel like lethargic? Do you feel flat? Do you feel like, how do you feel?
I don't know. I feel like I always am tired.
Okay. So, I mean, I'll tell you what I do. And if I have to work out early in the morning, because I have no other time to do it, like 8 o'clock for me is tricky because I like to eat. I used to do a lot of fasting, but I found that was actually catabolizing, or it was like making me lose muscle. So I started eating more protein in the morning, and that's really helped improve my energy and my strength. What I do is I will make myself a protein shake. So I'll use the beef protein powder that we have at the gym, which is at my costs. Please take advantage of it. It's like there for a reason to help you. I'll use 2 scoops of the protein powder. I use that kefir with some water. I'll throw like a little bit of fruit in, and I'll throw in my collagen powder as well. That is 50 grams of protein right there, okay, in that shake. I will drink maybe a half of that before coming to the gym, about an hour before. If I drink it, for me personally, if I drink it too close to working out, I'm burping, I don't feel good. So I'm trying to eat about an hour before I come to the workout.
Right. I'd have my toast at 7. I get up at 6, but
So get up
I
at
don't
6.
want to eat till
Have
7.
your coffee or whatever, make your protein shake, have the protein shake in the morning, have half of it, and then bring the other half of it with you to the gym and have it right after.
Okay.
Try something different. Try no toast, try protein instead, because toast is going to give you this instant energy, like for about maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then you're going to crash really hard. Because it's spiking your blood sugar and then it's making you crash. It'll actually make you eat more of the things you don't want to eat later on.
Jen?
Yeah.
Daddy, I don't eat in the morning. Like, is that okay? Like, I don't get hungry when I first wake up. I mean, I do take my collagen, but the thought of eating, like,
it depends again on what time you get up, Patty. Like if you're getting up, falling out of bed and literally coming to the gym, there's no time in there for your appetite to kick in.
But I usually get up about, I'd say average would be 6:20, just on my own. I wake up naturally.
Yeah.
But I just
try having, it's generally when you're not hungry in the morning, it's a sign that your metabolism is slow.
Yeah, I wondered.
You should wake up a little bit hungry. You should feel like you want to have something in the morning.
I'm starving in the morning.
I don't eat until about 10:30 or 11.
Yeah.
Like after the gym. Like
It's
I don't eat.
sign-
I just don't feel like eating.
Yeah. And your body has become used to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I would just say to you is try what I just said to Brenda. You don't have to eat a massive amount, but like by having that little bit of protein first thing in the morning, just think you've been through an overnight fast of like between 8 to 12 hours, depending on when you had your last meal at dinner. So that whole time you've burned through all the glucose, you're starting to burn through some body fat. And then once you're kind of tapped out on glucose, your body starts tapping into muscle for energy. It goes to the muscle first.
I have 19 pounds of body fat to lose, according to that body comp.
Unfortunately, it'll go for your muscle before it goes for your fat, which is why the protein in the morning is important. Yeah.
The LCM says 0. I don't need to make a change on that. So at least that's good. But
yeah.
Okay. I might think about trying to
like I said, slow changes. Like you don't have to have a gigantic protein shake first thing in the morning, but like maybe have a quarter of it and see how you feel. It's when you don't eat, you actually slow your metabolism down. Like you actually turn your metabolism essentially off, right? So
yeah, I wondered. Now, one other question, something you said about the spinach. Like I thought I was being so good at having all these eggs and spinach. Like I just put the spinach in the pan first and then the eggs.
Yeah.
Tasted great. I was roasting tomatoes from my garden and stuff. So it was wonderful. But is there a way to make your body, like, is it the combination of foods that you would get the iron from the spinach, or there's just no way to get the iron?
You would have to eat a boatload of spinach to get the same amount of iron, for example, and all the minerals in that. They're not, the thing with plants is, as much as we're told that vegetables are healthy for us, they actually come with a lot of problems digestively speaking as well. So a lot of people will have gas and bloating and not understand why. But when they start to lower the amount of vegetables that they're eating, that will go away. So that's one thing digestively, because they're difficult on the gut. I'm not saying they're bad, but if you're having issues, that could be why, right? So watch the veggies. Yeah. The other thing with vegetables, especially spinach, if you start eating a shitload of spinach and kale, they have what's called oxalates in them. And oxalates are what form kidney stones, calcium oxalate. Okay. And some people are more predisposed to forming kidney stones than others. So a lot of times when people start to eat healthier, they'll increase their dark leafy green vegetables because that's what we've been told are the most healthy things to eat. And then suddenly 3 months later, they have kidney stones. I've seen this happen so many times, I can't even count. So be careful. Like, I'm not saying don't eat spinach, but it's like it's not really giving you as much as you think it is. Like Popeye did not get strong eating spinach. That's a lie.
Well, yeah, no, I was thinking
You'd be better
fiber
off
and
to eat,
stuff.
like, you'd be better off to take a really small chunk of liver and eat liver.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I did have the eggs. I did have my protein. So
I'm just talking about bioavailable actual nutrition. Actually, liver is probably one of the most nutrient dense things we can eat. Unfortunately.
I don't mind it. I cook it sometimes, and
There you go.
I cook it for the dogs. Well, from the grass, from my beef I get from,
yeah.
once a year, then I
Just
cooked
have a
it,
little piece.
and I ate half of it and gave half to the dog. So I like it. I like all meat. I'm opposite to anyone who doesn't want to eat a lot of meat and fish and everything.
Cool.
Anyway.
Good.
Can I ask a question about timing again? Because you had said time your carbs around your workouts, but I have previously heard after your workout, you got to eat that's when you eat your high quality protein. So when it's tricky when you're moving all over the place on your workouts too, but
yeah. Before, during, and after, within that hour of a workout is when you want to eat most of your carbohydrates. So if you work out at noon and you want to have like a fruit or something, you might want to have that before with a little bit of protein. You could have, like, some people, elite athletes will have a little bit of like an energy supplement in their sort of their drink or whatever. And then post-workout would be a great time to replenish the glycogen stores, which is glucose that you've burnt. Now, I say that, but it's, again, context, because most, and I hate to say this, I don't mean to make you feel bad, anyone, but most of the stuff we're doing is not really long enough to really have a huge amount of carbohydrates, right? Like if you were training for 3 hours nonstop, you probably would want to have way more carbohydrates than doing what we're doing. You're better off to just focus on the protein and just keep your carbohydrates in general to around 100, 120 grams a day, and you'll be doing great.
Yeah, thank you.
Because most of us, unfortunately, have a little bit of insulin resistance, which is why we, especially when we get older and we're menopausal or postmenopausal, insulin resistance is more of a problem for us because we lack a lot of the other important hormones that insulin are tied to, like estrogen and testosterone. So it's important that we understand that we are going to be way more sensitive as postmenopausal women to carbohydrates. So, yeah, it sucks. Yeah. Anything else?
I had a question about the protein, but I think you kind of answered it. So it's okay to have that, like 2 scoops of that a day?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically just beef. It's just basically powdered beef protein. It's just a convenient way of having meat without eating meat, right?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Great. Well, hopefully, guys, I really appreciate you spending all this time, and hopefully you learned something, and hopefully you can take something away and apply it. Like I said, don't rush into things. Make your changes slow. Know thyself. Know how you respond to change. And if you need any help whatsoever, I am here for you anytime. We can get nitty-gritty specific, and happy to work with anybody. Okay. So thanks again. And we'll see you at the gym
Tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm losing my
Yeah.
voice, so I gotta go
Okay.
replenish some.
Thank,
have some more
thank
water.
you, Jen. Thank
All
you.
right,
Thanks, Jen.
okay, bye.
Thanks. Bye. I don't even know what I'm doing.